Alright, this is a 2013 model Fiat Punto. I've rented it this week to drive around, and here are my thoughts on it. The paintwork. The paintwork is very, very orange peely. It's to look nicer to need a wet rub down and a buff to make it look, really good. Plastic door handles. They don't feel very, very sturdy. The back door, the hatch, doesn't have a handle or anything. It's just got this electronic release, and then you have to put your fingers underneath here to lift it up. I don't like that at all. It's gonna end up scratching the bumper bar, and if you've been driving through dust or anything, your fingers are going to get dirty. That's not a good idea in my opinion. Boot space, there's not much. It's not big enough to put 2 suitcases in. And without taking the rear parcel blind out anyway and throwing it away. In behind the tail lights here, it's got a little body void. That's going to be prone to filling up with leaves and dirt and rubbish. It's going to be really hard to clean out, and they're going to sit in behind the tail light here, and well, it's going to cause rust eventually. This is something I'd be a little concerned about. A very recently built car with only 20,000 Ks on it, and there's fogging inside the rear tail light. It doesn't appear to have any cracks or fractures in it anywhere, but somehow the moisture's in there. Certainly not a sign of good build quality. Could be an issue there. There's no trims or anything to finish around the glass on the front or the back windscreen. You just get left with a raw edge of screen. Anyway, that's the body. Let's have a look at the interior. Interior's very, very basic. It's all black. It's all hard plastic. Apart from these little inserts of fabric in the door trim. Other than that, it's just all hard plastic. It's got a massive dashboard. It's not flat on top, so you can't store anything on top. Where the steering wheel comes at you here, it comes back at you a mile, like it's a handlebars of a jet ski. And the whole interior is covered with these tiny little goosebumps. It's as if they sprayed the whole interior with adhesive and opened up all the doors and parked it in a goosebump storm. They're everywhere. It's all textured the same. There's no decent storage options in the interior. You get a tiny little drink holder here, a little cubby behind that. They won't even hold a small bottle of water without hitting into the console. Glove box. That's all you get for a glove box. It's quite small. It's about 2.5 fists. It's got a USB charging port hidden up the back there, which is hard to find when you need it sitting on the seat. You've almost got to get out to find it. These little grooves here, not sure what they are for. I think this one might be for a pen or a pencil. These ones here, I think they must be just for your Bras and Things loyalty card to sit in. So that's the interior. Now let's have a look under the bonnet. Well, how do we get to that? Oh, that's right. It's over here on the left-hand passenger side. Let's have a look under here. Now this makes me a little bit happier. The engine bay is quite well set out. There's lots of room around all the components. The radiator's not hidden away too much. It looks fairly easy to access. Everything you need to check is able to be got at: the oil dipstick, the coolant, and you can actually see around the engine. So that tells me later on in life it's going to cost you less for servicing, or if you're going to do it yourself, it's going to be easier to service because you've actually got a better chance of accessing things. There's no massive big engine cover hiding everything like it's so common these days. We can see the accessory belt. The front of the engine's very visible, so doing a cam belt later on is not going to be as intensive as some of the other makes. You can even see the crank angle sensor down here. Even it's not hidden away. Nice little feature here I like is they've got a test point on the end of the fuel rail. So that's cool. That's going to be very handy. And yeah, all the spark plugs are visible there. You've obviously got to remove the intake to get to them, but it's not going to be a massive job. It's just pretty much superficial. So that makes me a lot happier about the mechanicals of the car. You can see our famous little automatic clutch lever down there and all the solenoids that operate it. So yeah, engine bay wise, the car's designed fairly well. I like it. Alright, so we're going to go for a drive now. Now this model has the legendary Fiat Dualogic transmission, which it's a bit mysterious, but I guess the best way of describing it is it's a computer controlled manual transmission. It seems to operate the clutch by itself instead of you using your left foot. When I first hopped into the car, I was thinking of it as an automatic transmission, and I hated it. And if you change your way of thinking, that it's a manual transmission, that you just don't have to use the clutch, you're probably still going to hate it. So anyway, let's go for a drive and I'll show you what I mean. So it's got two modes. It's got an auto mode and a manual mode. So I'm going to leave it in auto mode. We still need to put it into gear instead of drive, so we need to select one, and then this is it doing its thing. And unfortunately in this mode it seems to try and match the speed, like as if you were driving it as a manual, changing through the gears. And now I'm just pulling up to an intersection and it's still in second gear. It won't select first by itself. So we're left with a terrible void of power where it doesn't like pulling away, which is frustrating. It also has a very, very definite feel when it changes up gear, so I'll show you what I mean. So now it's in second again, trying to pull away. I'll just hold my foot down on the accelerator. And that's it, changing up the gear. So you have that definite feeling as if you were changing gears in a manual very, very slowly. It also has an eco mode, which just don't even bother with that. It won't pull the hat off your head. It tries to go up hills in fourth and fifth gear. And I know what you're thinking, it's not a sports car, it's not supposed to have a lot of power. Well, it is supposed to be a car. In eco mode it might as well be a wheelbarrow pushed by an old person. As far as how the car drives, it's okay. It tends to be a little bit rougher ride, but I like a firmer ride in a car that makes you feel like you are actually driving the car instead of a bus. So I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with the steering wheel. It's got these weird kind of knobs on it here that really go against how you want to hold your steering wheel, and it really pushes your hands down to this position, which is right on top of these steering controls, and you really have to kind of almost not hold the wheel so that you don't touch these buttons. The buttons themselves, they're just various controls for the stereo and the telephone control. So in my opinion, they're useless. They're not anything useful like gear change paddles or lighting controls or anything like that. They're just all to do with the radio, which I can quite easily touch anyway. So in my opinion, I don't like it. This kind of, I don't know what these are. The controls for indicators and wipers, I'm going to say typical European shortcut controls. They're opposite to what we're used to in Australia. The indicators are on the left. Your wiper controls are on the right. You're always going to mix them up. Unless you're used to driving European cars, cheaper European cars where they just couldn't even be bothered swapping them over, you're going to be annoyed. I don't like that. I think that shows a shortcut from the manufacturer. But I just think they can do better. Alright, so I'm just going to shift into manual mode now, just to show you how the car drives like in that respect. Just on this little twisty road, there's a few ups and downs in it. So I'm going to change down to second. The engine in the car, it sounds pretty solid. There's no real bad engine noises. I wouldn't really call it a quiet car. There's lots of road noise, and you certainly can hear the engine revving, but it doesn't sound unhealthy. The gear changes, they're very, very laggy. If you think putting it into manual mode is going to make it shift quicker, well, it's not, because you're still not in control of that clutch. And honestly, after a while, you find yourself matching the speed with the throttle as you would a manual car anyway, and just not using your left foot just to try and make it smoother. The brakes work pretty well. They're very responsive, although I do have a complaint that the rear brakes are only drum brakes, so they're not disc brakes. Very, very cheap in my opinion for 2016. They're going to be more expensive to service in the future. They don't work as well. They're going to be noisy. There's just no need to put drum brakes in a car anymore. So downhill, if you change down a gear, you get that engine braking as you would in a manual. And then if I change up during acceleration, you still get, it's quite laggy, it's not fast. But it works okay, and at least you are in control of it. And then if you get sick of being in control, a simple flick sideways will put it into auto mode in the current gear you're in, and then it'll do what it wants to, basically. So a nice little added feature from Fiat is that the speedo's 5 kilometers fast, so it gives you that impression that you're going fast when you're actually not. So now I'm going to talk about visibility when you're in the car. It's not good. Right here, we have this big triangle section, and they've supplied us with this little looking glass. I'm really not sure what that's for, because when you're in the seated position, you can't even see that glass. All you see is just this big area where you can't see out of the car. Probably just big enough to miss a child or a cyclist crossing the road or something. I'm not a tall person, but where I'm comfortable sitting driving the car, if I look to my immediate right, I get the pillar. Can't see sideways, so I've got to cock my head forward to see what's over there. And then in the back, I'm going to get out for this one. Not only have we got these seat rests here, I don't even know why you put seat rests in the back of a small car like this. Let's just push them down or throw them out or something. We've got this massive back pillar. That's more than a cubit. It's ridiculous. That's right where you're trying to look when you're backing into a car park, when you're trying to reverse at night, when you're at the club. It's ridiculous. So night driving. The headlights on the car, they work fairly well. Give a fairly good field of distance. So there's low beam, and then we toggle the stalk to high beam, so you can see good at short distance, pretty good at long distance. As far as the interior of the car at night, everything is red. Everything is red. The gauges are red, the needles are red, the warning zones are red. My favourite little steering wheel buttons are red just to annoy me. Here we are, here we are. The screen's red, everything's red. It's an assault on my eyes. This looks like I'm being punished for something. Or maybe I am for driving this car. Everything is red. There's no definition between the normal part of the gauge and the warning part of the gauge. It just doesn't make sense. But as far as the headlights, they work well. As far as everything else, it hurts my eyes. Alright, so here's the summary. Driven the car around for a week or so, and you've seen my individual findings on it. So here's the summary, the all-in score. So body hasn't got a very nice finish, so I'm going to say 2 out of 5 for that. Interior, limited storage, terrible waste of space, not comfortable. The seats are flat, slip sideways and forward on them and everything. 1 out of 5 for the interior. As for how the car goes, the transmission's terrible. Very limited power. 1 out of 5 for that. Probably got to think, what do I like about the car? Well, there is one thing. The rear windows are manual winders. Why do I like that? Well, I like that because there's no need to have power windows in little cars like this. They're just gadgets. I don't like gadgets. Extra weight for nothing. Your rear passengers don't need them. Ironically, you're probably not going to be able to carry rear passengers unless your whole journey's downhill. Just too much weight for the little thing. There is one redeeming feature, is how the engine bay is set out. I like how it's simple. You can see around it. You can get around it to work on everything. That's going to be a plus in the future. Overall on the car, would I buy one? No. Should you buy one? That's subjective. You've got to buy something you like and something that you're going to be happy with, but you deserve better. So I guess that's it overall. I score it At least it's not a diesel. 1.5 out of 5.